Welcome everybody, we're here in Newmarket. We've got the lovely weather and the racing season is well underway. We're focusing today, so we're halfway through the season now, and this is when things are starting to go wrong and we need to start looking at more how we're going to get the horses to the end of the season without stopping them in training. So today we've got a horse that's popped a crack in his quarter. We've got a horse that's scalping. And then whilst we're at this end of the yard, we've also got a horse that's just going to be plated that's got a race coming up. So the main focus is on how we deal with problems throughout the season without trying to stop horses from training. So we've got this chap here, Jack, the holder today. He's pull the horse out for us, Jack. And we'll just take him over to the runway and walk him up. So this horse, he's a 3-year-old colt. And what I'm doing now is I just want to watch, I'm just looking at his footfall and seeing how he's landing, because although we've got a crack in the foot, it might not necessarily be the foot's fault. You know, it could be the horse has got a sore knee, he's gone base wide. We need to see what's going on. We don't always get that opportunity in racing, but once you start to see a problem, you're going to have to get the horses out and look at them. You just trot away and back for us, please, Jack. Okay, I'm back. That's great. If you can just stand him there for a Jack. So this horse, we'll just stand him up square. Good boy. I can see we've got a bit of a lateral flare going on here. It's not massive, but it's there. So that's showing that, you know, potentially we've got a foot that's not quite balanced as we'd like it. And then, so we've been treating this area prior to today because I wanted to show you all how we treat a quarterback. So it's just started to go through the coronary band here. He's not necessarily feeling it, which is a good thing. So we're going to support this area today with a patch, and then we're just going to alter the shoe slightly to try and get more level landing. So what I could evaluate from that horse walking up and trotting up there is that he's landing outside toe and he's slamming down medial heel. If we can get him to land flat, support that dorsal wall there with the crack, and we're just going to monitor that. I'm not going to look to change this horse's whole setup. He's in training, he's sound, he's got races coming up, so I don't want to go putting bar shoes on that we can't run in, pads and all sorts. We're just going to try and tweak minor things as we go and keep monitoring and managing this horse to keep him in training so we can make his races. So if you could pop him back for us, Jack. Okay, Sonny. So this horse, he's coming around due for shoeing, but in his last race, he came back with some quite nasty scalp wounds on his hind pastern. So for those, this is an interference injury, and again, it can be caused from many factors: deep ground, unbalanced horse, sore knees, so the front end's not getting out of the way quick enough. But we need to evaluate this horse and get on top of it before he continues in his training. You standing there for us, please, Sonny. So what you can see is, good boy, good lad. These are scalp wounds. So they're on the pastern, the short pastern areas. And he's doing it with both fronts. And you can tell a good piece of advice for interference injuries is look what way the wound is. If it's a vertical wound, or if it's a horizontal wound, if the flap of the skin is pointing up or pointing down, so you can get the injury, what direction the hoof is travelling at. So for me, the skin is proudest at the top. So this is an up motion, so it has to be scalping, which generally is the toe of the forefoot. As that comes up off the ground, as the back limbs come through, this is where they collide. So the flesh is being pushed up. So that's a good indicator of the direction of travel of the front feet. And if we have a look at what's going on here, generally he's got a central breakover. We're going to put a square toe shoe on this and pull it under to encourage a bit of early breakover, and also to try and avoid, if he is going to continue scalping, or hopefully not continue scalping, but if he's going to continue to work at fast speed, he may touch himself with hoof rather than with shoe. So we're going to deal with that in the shoeing method as well. Thanks, Sonny. So we'll pop him away. So firstly, we're going to I'm going to stabilise this crack before we go any further. I don't want the horse to keep walking around on an unstable capsule there. So we have been monitoring this for a couple of days now, and treating it. So I don't want to patch over this crack with any fear of an infection being within the horn. So we've been disinfecting it now for the last couple of days. The horse has continued with his exercise. It was a bit of a risk to do that, but I wanted to show you guys how we deal with a quarter crack. So all I'm doing basically is just preparing the horn for the glue that we're going to stabilise this crack with. Now, I know a lot of guys debride these, open these cracks right up. I'm not going to do that. For me, this is kind of what I would call a bit of a hairline crack. It is unstable. There is movement either side, but I'm not going to open that right up and start to clean out all the areas. I'm quite comfortable in just bridging this really and supporting the wall and monitoring it. I found in the past, if I open these up, you can cause more complications through weakening the horn around it and putting yourself in a worse position going forward. Like I said, this is an athlete's injury, and we've got to keep this horse going for the next 3 months. So I don't want to go pulling that open, making an even bigger crack, and putting this horse back in his training. It's more about monitoring it for now, seeing how far we get. So we'll clean the crack up. We do need to put some antibacterial putty over the crack, which is why I use this Keratex hoof putty. It's antibacterial. It will stop any dirt and debris getting into that crack zone and create a drain. If he was to abscess, this will create a drain for the infection to come out. So I'm using that to disinfect the crack. What I've got is my crack plate, which is aluminium. It's about 1.2 mil thick. From this I've got to create so basically I've got my crack plate there. I need to shape it to the contour of the hoof. So I basically can use the hoof as my mould, bend that round, and now I'm going to just snip the edges and neaten this up. Again, I don't want to make a massive deal out of this so that trainers and owners focus on the crack patch. I want to make it look as neat and tidy as I can whilst being functional. Just pull him up straight for us. Good boy. Come on, lad. That's it, perfect. Good boy. So Now I can just use my Mustad pull-offs as a bit of a bending tool. Just create the corners, just to give us a nice contour. So when I put that on, it's going to be nice and flush to the foot. Now shave that bottom corner off a touch. So that's it. Nice and flat there. Shave that down a bit more. For me, when I do a crack repair, whether it's a toe crack or a quarter crack, good boy, I want to use the biggest patch as possible and cover a greater area. Good lad. So that we're adding as much strength as we possibly can. So you can see the patch repair there. That's how it's going to fit nice and flush to the foot. So let's just prepare that wall a bit more ready for the patch. I've got my handy table of stuff here. Like that. So again, just to take any grease off of the aluminium patch, I'll just use a bit of heat. That'll just take any grease off of there, giving me a nice point of sticking. And then I'll just use my block now, just sand that foot up a little bit more. Come on, you. Good lad. And the key element to any sort of gluing or adhesion is making sure that the surface that you're sticking to is clean and dry. I'm quite happy that this is a very dry structure to go to. Sometimes I might add a bit of heat to the area to take any grease out, but I don't actually want to create too much heat over that crack that's going to make him sore. So right, so we've got our hoof putty, we've got our crack patch. Now we're just going to use an acrylic glue. I find this works best with this kind of work because it's a flexible glue. It will give us a nice bond, but it'll also allow movement, especially at the back of the foot there. That's where the heel's expanding. So you want something that's not going to just be so rigid that it cracks off as well. We're looking for this patch to try and stay on for at least 4 to 5 weeks really. That's there. Okay, our glue. Good boy. Right, that's the tricky point. We want him to be a nice customer here and be quiet for us. So I'm using my, you can see my bacterial putty there. That's going to stick nicely. And I'll be quite liberal with the glue at the start. Get it all on in the places where I want my patch to cover, even with the shavings. Now I'll get my patch and just push that in. Good boy. Relax. Push that in. Now the key areas I'm focusing on here, good boy, good boy, is I don't want too much glue up over the coronary band. I don't want any on the coronary band. It all starts to look a bit messy now, but as the glue goes off, we'll start to neaten everything up. Good lad. Good boy. Good boy. Relax. I'm just going to take this through. It's starting to get a bit uncomfortable. Good lad. Just start to smooth everything out. Like I say, make sure there's no glue up near my coronary band. Taking any glue away from the shoe because I'm going to remove this shoe in a moment. I just wanted to secure the crack before we started. Now that's in place. So the other thing to remember with a crack repair is when the hoof is non-weight bearing, the crack will be closed. As the horse applies weight, it'll open the crack up. So whilst this horse is non-weight bearing, we'll really wrap that patch on nice and tight. And then for the process of this patch going off and hardening, we need to keep the horse's foot up so that the patch and the glue harden off with the crack in the closed position. We don't want the crack open. So, Billy, if you could just pop over here and hold this horse for us. We've got an extra helper today, thanks to the school holidays. Right, if you can hold this guy. Jack, if you hold the foot up. That's great. So what we're waiting for, and which is a good guide, when you've put a bit of glue on your glove on the back of your hand, you can feel the glue going off. And this glue goes off very quickly in this kind of temperature. It shouldn't be enough that it's going to burn the horse, but it's enough, obviously, for the crack to cure. So whilst that's curing, we're going to pop over to our other horse. So once that's cooled back down, Jack, you can pop the foot down, okay? Lovely. Right. Off to... And this is kind of real, this is how we'd be working on a daily basis. We've got a lot to get through in a day. So when I can have horses lined up, ready to go. So this guy, he was scalping. We assessed him outside. We kind of know he's got low heels. It's that point of the year. Feet are starting to deteriorate. But again, you can't go doing major changes at this stage of the year. It's all little tweaks to keep everything going and monitoring. So this guy's problem was he was scalping. I wouldn't say he's got an excessively long toe or excessively low heels. So it could be a possibility that everything was a bit quick for him on the day. And he was just starting to catch up with himself, or perhaps he's developing some sore knees. Therefore he's not able to break away quickly enough before his back end catches up with him. And like I say, we're just going to pop a square toe on him just to try and help things out so he doesn't touch himself. As you can see, there's very little that we can do with these feet at this time of year other than keep them nice and flat, level. Try and keep as much sole depth into a foot as we can. We're not trying to remove too much. So for this guy, we've got a St. Croix Concord aluminium. It was a toe clip. We took the toe clip off. So even unclipped there, you can see we can pull it under the foot a bit more, lose a bit of toe. But I am just going to square that toe across so that we can come more across here and avoid the scalp. So most of us that have forged know how to put a square toe on, but guys on a cold stand, make sure there's an air gap and then just work back towards yourself. Only do a little at a time with these aluminium shoes because they're very easy to move. You don't want to end up wrecking your shoes. So we're just trying to create that square. Again, back to our air gap. Work over the centre. You can see we've got our square toe coming there. I'll just straighten that up a touch more. I'll just show you. So you can see we've gone from that traditional rounded toe to a straightened off square toe, unclipped aluminium plate. And again, these are just minor tweaks. You can go very drastic with a very square toe. You can take them to the linisher and knock a bit of an edge off. Generally this horse is probably going to knock this edge off pretty quick. But there you can now see how far under we can fit that and bring that breakover back and square that toe across. Boy. Again, I'm looking for a racing fit, so I've pre-boxed these shoes. I'm fitting to boxing, centre of heel, centre of aluminium, but not with crazy length, because again, although it may look great laterally to give the length, it's not going to do us any favours at this time of year with horses losing shoes. It's more about keeping the foot quality and just doing what we can. As always, I'm using the Hammerhead range of nails. These are very specifically designed for racing, with the way that the head fits into an aluminium shoe. And keeps the shoe on nice and tight to the foot. Oh boy. And quite often at this time of year now, I'm quite happy to just use 2 nails up the inside. We're shoeing these so frequently that we don't want to fill the foot with loads of nail holes. It's more about preserving now. Well, it's always about preserving, but preserving what little we already have. We'll just draw these up. I want these on nice and tight. And so this bit of toe, I'm just going to round it up. I'm going to pull it back loads, because again I don't want to upset the structure of the hoof too much. We're just taking that toe back a touch. We've got all winter to prepare our feet for the summer months. We don't want to go raking these toes back and making these horses sore so that they can't compete and do their races. No one will thank us for a beautiful looking foot that can't leave the stable. So, onto our other foot, overlap. So it's basically the same, repeat the exercise, looking at what we've got. Again, not a great deal of heel, a little bit of excess toe, This foot's got a little bit more depth in it than the other foot there. But you know, I'm not going to touch this sole area. These wire brushes at this time of year is all that's required. So again, let's just give ourselves a nice smooth base to work from. We're just trying to always just gather a little bit back, little and often. These horses are being shod, well, every 10 days to 16 days really at this time of year with plates. So to avoid a little bit of banging and clanging, here's one I've pre-shaped. Put that in. Boy. Again, I'm looking for that racing fit. There. And again, we're a lot of the time with these plates now, we've pre-drilled the holes on the backs to give us that maximum pitch for these feet that have started sinking. Gravity's taken over. Galloping is starting to push these soles down and out, so you're starting to get more angulated feet. So by allowing yourself a bit more pitch, you can get decent nails. Again, I'm quite happy to have the 3 in the outside, 2 in the inside nail pattern, as long as they're strong. Good boy. Let's square that toe across. Lovely. Right, we'll leave this one for Sonny to clench up for us whilst we go back to our quarter crack horse. Thanks, Sonny. So this has had long enough to set now. Jack held the foot up to allow the crack to, when the crack patch had set and adhered to the foot, the crack was closed. So from my evaluation of walking and trotting this horse up, he's got this little bit of lateral flare. I'll just bring the foot forward. He had this little bit of lateral flare, and to me, look, he was landing outside toe, slamming down on the inside. So our patch is on there nicely. Just want to give it a little clean up. Good boy. So yeah, we're just giving it a little clean up. Make sure it's nice and neat. We don't want any glue around our coronary band. And you can just see the Keratex hoof putty there. So what that's doing is stopping any dirt and debris going into the crack, but just as importantly, it's stopping any glue going into the crack, which will cause a pinch.
if you don't block or put a drain where your crack point is, when you put your glue, as that firms up, that will obviously go into that crack, form a bit of a splinter really, and can put pressure on the sensitive. So it's very important that you block those areas out with either Play-Doh or an antibacterial putty of choice. So from my evaluation of walking and trotting the horse up, I feel that at this moment in time we don't need to start putting bar shoes on this horse. Let's just do everything a little bit at a time and see where we're going. I'm going to address the balance if I can. I feel that he could be a slight outside high because he's landing outside toe, slamming down on his inside. It's the size of this horse as a 3-year-old galloping. It's probably close to the 500 kilo mark. For whatever reason, the crack has formed. I don't want to go throwing all the toys at it just yet. If we start putting bar shoes on and stuff like that, this horse is in training, we'll end up losing a shoe, and again, that's not going to help anyone. We're just, at this point of the time, it's more about minor changes, getting these horses to continue in training, rather than having to stop them and put them back into a slower type of work. These are here, you know, as a business to run and race. So that's our aim, is to keep them on the track, not to stop them. And there'll be a maintenance program for the head lads and the staff looking after these guys. One will make a note of this and point it out to the staff so they can monitor and make sure that the crack isn't getting any bigger, and then we have to deal with it from there. Just keeping everyone aware, communicating. So you can see our crack patch is on there now. It wasn't glued to the shoe. You don't want your patch repairs to be stuck to the shoe, because obviously you want your heels to continue to be able to move. If it's stuck to the shoe, your foot moves, you can end up losing your crack repair. So this horse has got a nice frog, important for weight sharing in these thoroughbreds. Again, he's got a nice bit of depth to this foot, nice bit of sole on there. I'm not looking to remove too much. It's a reasonably symmetrical foot. There's not masses of trimming to be done here. For me, rather than compromise the hoof capsule by over trimming to attain balance, with this I'm going to thin the outside of the shoe to create the balance that I want, rather than take the foot down on the lateral side too much, in the fact that I'm going to end up weakening the capsule itself. So if we can just have a look at my crack repair whilst there isn't a shoe on, you can see we've come all the way around, basically added a lot more depth to this heel area of the foot, almost 3 or 4 mil with the glue and the patch repair. So that's, you know, a nice strong repair there. So again, what I've done, you know, I've always got a plan in my head of what I'm going to do when I see a horse and try and get things prepared. So I've prepared this is a size 8 St. Croix Concord aluminium, and what I've actually done is, from the medial toe to the outside heel, is spiraled the shoe just using a hand grinder, so that we've ended up with a shoe thinner on the lateral branch than it is on the medial branch. So essentially either giving him a medial lift or taking the lateral side down, but this is to just attain better balance rather than taking the foot down and compromising the capsule. I can do it with the shoe and we can monitor it as we go along. I just need to adjust that. What we have to remember is the crack, the point of crack is a sign of weakness. That's why it's cracked there. That's where the bend is on the quarters of the heel quarter of the foot. So he's obviously overloading in that area. So the patch itself is purely adding strength to that area. It's not fixing the crack, it's just holding it in place, stopping it from moving anymore. The fix, or hopefully the fix, will be correct balance, the horse's hoof landing flat and distributing load evenly throughout the capsule, and then in time, as the foot grows, it will grow out of the coronary band and we've solved the puzzle. If this isn't the case, then we'll have to readdress and see where we go from there, but this is generally where I start. Happy with that. Okay, now nailing it on. So you can see, as you could see when I was there earlier, there's a definite medial lift to this. Oh boy. Oh boy. Gonna go for my 3 and 2 nail pattern. So I hope that everyone, what we're picking up from this is that it's all about a little bit. I'm lucky enough to be in this yard daily, so for me it's all a little and often little tweaks and adjustments to keep things going, because I'm here. If you're a million miles away, then sometimes you can't do the little adjustments. So we've put the nails in. There's no point in trying to create this balance, having a fresh nail head and then it sticking up and being the same height. So I'm just going to rest my heads down. So now I'm happy. I don't know if the camera can pick up that. It's very difficult for people to see on camera the balance of this foot, but I'm happier that we've got that lateral side down and we've got a more balanced look to that long axis. Right, I shall get Sonny over to clench that up for me and we'll go back to my scalping horse. Sonny, if you could clench that fella up for us. So these feet all nice and cleaned out. Yeah. So Sonny's clenched this horse, and the other thing with the scalping, it could be that where this horse is working, predominantly the all-weather surfaces, if he's having a delay in breakover, so he's travelling into the ground, heels are dropping, back to normal, breaking over, how can we stop that extra sinking? So we're going to use the Mustad comfort mix, and we're going to put that in the bottom of his foot. So this will be a resistance as he hits the surface. Should hopefully stop him travelling through it too deep. So there's, again, we've sped up the breakover through not allowing the heels to over travel through the surface. So Sonny's prepared the feet for that, which most of you know about already, is clean the feet out, make sure they're dry and they're able to take the product that you're putting in there. I don't use a net with this product, because again, I'm only putting it in for a limited amount of time. If this horse is to race, I'll take the pads out, because the jockeys and the trainers feel that you maximise grip with the shoe without having the silicone pads in. So it's a training aid. We're putting this in purely to allow him to train better and stop touching himself. So Sonny's dried the foot out for me. Again, very quick and simple. Tape the back of the foot up because I'm going for full depth. This will also help improve thickness of sole, because we're not allowing sole exfoliation. Try and get it to be nice and level. Build it up at the back. So again, the more we can limit this foot moving through the surface, we're speeding up the breakover at the front to hopefully avoid contact being made with the passons at the back for the scalping process. Peel that off. Again, most of us know about this, just to stop it sticking to the beds. Get that nice smooth. Again, easy nozzle change on these Mustad Comfort Mix products. Literally pop out. They can only fit one way. Caps go back on, click finish. So to dry these soles out, they were hit with a flambe or a heat torch, just to take the moisture out of the foot. Just tape at the back to avoid losing any material. Just get it mixing. Oh boy, good lad. So. Again, this stuff goes off pretty quick, the heats that we've got. Good lad. So this product, again, because we haven't used the netting, I'm confident the process that we use to dry the foot out and put this product in, I'm confident this is going to last for, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that. During that period, this horse may have had a race come up by then anyway, and we'll be taking it out. I don't use the netting because I don't want to have to remove the netting and everything like that prior to a race. It's just a quick, easy method for us to apply product, especially for horses that are actually shod. So a horse that we might have to thicken the soles up on, he's actually just been shod. We don't then have to put the netting underneath, we can just dry the soles out and go straight in. Right, let's see how Sonny's getting on clenching this foot up, and then we'll get these two horses out, trot them up, and hopefully we've made some progress and moved them forward. So, that's what I need to do, just clean that up. One other thing, I'll just use a bit of black dye. Again, a little bit of showmanship or just a bit of pride in your work. No owners or trainers really want to see a great big horrible bit of yellow glue sticking on a horse's foot. you can just use a bit of dye just to clean. Good boy. Just to, again, like I say, present your work as best you can. And that'll fade over time, and when the horse goes racing they put the hoof grease on and everybody's happy. So, right, the coast is clear. Let's trot this fella up and have a look. So if you could walk up again for me, Jack. So I'm looking at footfall, trying to achieve level footfall in weight sharing. And if you can, just trot away and back. He's not the best of yards to try and attain level footfall. Okay, stand him up. So we've made a minor adjustment. We've supported a weakened area of hoof with our crack repair. You can see a bit more clearly now. We've got our aluminium crack patch on, Keratex hoof putty to avoid the debris and dirt getting in. I'm starting to bring the balance across. He's got that lateral flare. I'm gonna bring that across a touch. You can see the medial wall's quite upright, so he's been weight loading there for quite some time. We've addressed the balance underneath, so it's all little bits to attain the better job. Okay, we'll pop him back, Jack, and we'll see our scalping horse. Okay, Sonny. Oh boy. So again, this horse at the start, he had scalped in his race, which meant that the toe of his front feet was hitting the pastern of his hind limbs. And there are many factors to this, but we're trying to address our end with the foot for a minor alteration. We've gone from a toe clip concord front to an unclipped square toe, and we've also added the comfort mix clear. So if we can get a lateral shot and hopefully see that we've put the toe in more alignment with the pastern. And again, we've applied the comfort mix. This was purely to stop over travel of the hoof into the surface, and in turn this should get his front end out the way quicker. So like, as this is coming through and picking up off the ground, it's getting away as this is coming through. You can see how these will extend and the front limb will come up and scalp out. So hopefully we've again made an improvement here. We'll monitor this horse now for the next few days in training, speak to the riders, speak to the trainers. Again, it'll be pretty clear to us whether he's touching himself behind or not, and then we can go from there. Thanks, Sonny. We'll pop him back. So that's it for Mustad Live this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope there's lots of questions for me. Big thanks to Sonny, Billy and Jack for helping me with this live. we look forward to the next performance through one of the other clinicians. I hope everyone stays safe and well and enjoys their summer, and we'll see you all soon.